welcome back. In today's video, it's going to be discussing my real name and I say why I always introduce myself as Seeds. So, anyhow, I'll just kind of do a backstory on my nickname. So, my nickname is Seeds, and I got that when I was a real little kid. I actually don't remember exactly how old I was. It just kind of seems like it was always, just a second name of mine. And from my memory and from what I've been told, I believe it was just the fact that my twin brother couldn't say my name properly, and it came out as Seeds, and it just stuck. And so, just about everyone calls me Seeds, and it's not that they don't call me my full name also, but that's just something over the last few years that I noticed myself doing was that whenever I introduce myself, I always call myself Seeds, and then explain my full name and such. But yeah, it's just something that was a product of, I say, my second traumatic pain. And so, yeah, so my full name is, it's my first name is Alcides. And a lot of people, when I tell them that, a lot of people, when I tell them that, kind of get taken back a little bit as far as just like, why that's a really cool name. And they kind of wonder why I just go by Seeds. And it's not that I just go by Seeds. Like I said, I really like my first name. It's unique, and I got made fun of a lot when I was a kid. And so it was cool as I got to become an adult to have this unique name that wasn't, let's say, self-manufactured. I think that's where a lot of changing people's names comes from. It's just this desire for uniqueness. And so, yes, I do appreciate that about my first full name, my real name. But the reason why I go by Seeds is that my father has the same name, and for years that was something that I was proud about, because my grandfather had the same name. And so within my family, on my father's side, my name is very much a family name. It's cool because I have cousins who have the same name. I have cousins who have fathers who have the same name. And so, it's cool having that family heritage. But one of the reasons that I specifically, where I live anyways, always introduce myself as Seeds is because when my father, I say, did what he did to my little sister, my name was actually in the newspaper because it was his name. And I live in a pretty small town in Montana, and so internally, that just terrifies me that somebody will look up my name if I introduce myself with my full real name and think that was me. Because, this, like I said, to this day, other than people that I'm related to, I've never once met anybody who's ever known my name. The only time I ever met anybody out in Seattle was a close friend of mine. I met some of his family who are Greek, and that's actually where my name comes from. It's Greek. And so when they heard my name, they loved it because they felt connected to me because I have this extremely Greek name. But other than that, I've never once met anybody who's ever heard of my name. And so it's just one of those things where internally, that's one thing I've learned with your pain is that a lot of the times those types of connections, they don't, you're not necessarily going to think rationally from them, or at the very least, you're going to be very on guard about explaining yourself. And so whenever I meet anybody, I always say my name's Seeds, and they're kind of taken back, and they say, well, is that your full name? Is that your real name? And I explain, no, that's my nickname. My full name is Alcides. But it just, for whatever reason, I've created this natural reaction where that's how I always approach anybody, because I'm just terrified of being judged. And so again, I think it's important to reflect on these types of changes that happen. Just about how we introduce ourselves after traumatic pain happens. If just be aware if that's if you use a shorthand version of your name, or however your pain is distinct. If you feel the need to like, that's one of the things that with my twin brother's loss, that I've had a habit of doing for years and years, is a lot of times I don't tell people that he was killed. As I meet people and they introduce themselves and their backgrounds, if it's prevalent, I might bring up the fact that I'm one of 10 children in the family. I have me, my twin brother, and 8 sisters, and a lot of times people will ask me about my twin, like what he does and such, and I'll explain he's the Marines. But a lot of times I don't necessarily go beyond that, and even to the point where this was a few years back. I had I say a friend of mine who I talked to for years, at least 3 years. I've been friends, and I don't know how it got brought up, but for the first time, she found out that my twin had been killed, and she was just shocked and taken back because I had talked about him before, and I say experiences my brother and I had had together, adventures or whatever. But I didn't realize that I hadn't told her that. But I do know that that's I want to say it's a defense mechanism, but I do. It's a habit of mine where I don't tell everyone the whole story, and a big reason why is just because of the fear of being judged. Like I said, I don't want to people. I don't want people to think that I'm trying to seek pity when I'm talking about my pain. I just want to talk about it to one, just get it off my chest, and to two, let people out there know that they're not alone in their pain, and that there are others out here who are suffering immensely, and who are just as afraid as they are of being misunderstood and being judged. And so I just want to give encouragement for people to talk about their own pain, and just to keep focused on the motives of why, because I think so many people want to talk about their pain simply to get it off their chest, simply to be understood, not to be pitied, but to be understood. And there's a great distinction in that, because seeking pity is something where we're just assuming that we can't do anything because this horrible thing happened to us, and that the world around us needs to hold us up. When in fact, like I said, a lot of times it's just like, no, I just don't want the world to push me down. There's a huge difference between not wanting to be pushed down and wanting to be picked up. And again, it's important to make those distinctions, because by associating, or at least allowing the association of those who are simply seeking attention and seeking pity, and those who are seeking to be understood and to be heard, it's two different things. And so it's just really important to see those differences, because again, that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people don't talk about their pain, and why I think that there's society, there are people amongst this, there are people within our society that think that mental illness is a very minute, small percentage of the populace, and that most people, are fine, and that we're all going along. And it's like, no, I think that there's a huge amount of people suffering from mental illness and happiness, but they're just too afraid to speak of it because of the stigma, because of the judgment. And again, too, it's just important to look at how that pain impacts you. It's not just the fact of what my dad did to my sister, but it's how it impacted all of us. It's how it changed me from just without being before it happened. I would always introduce myself as Alcides, and explain that my nickname is Seeds, and I do go by both names, because I do really genuinely love my first name, and its uniqueness, and the history behind it. Even the Greek history behind it. It actually means Heracles. A lot of people say Hercules, but that's actually just what do you call it? That's Hollywood normalizing the name. But yeah. So it's just something that I know that I've just spent lots and lots of years being fearful of people judging me for what my dad did, and judging me and thinking that was me, because it says his name. If you Google my name, it'll pop up with his information and say that a man who's from a small town in Montana, and I'm like, I live in a small town in Montana. And again, so it's just important to determine how our pain affects us, and how it changes our dialogue and our interaction on certain subjects, so that we can be more prepared, and also just try to, again, figure out how we're supposed to live life with this new reality. And again, too, that was one of the reasons, like I said, that really motivated me to make this channel, was I was so fearful of any judgment I would be getting for making the channel. If I was doing it for attention, if I was doing it to get pity, or try to be famous, or whatever. I just had these voices of judgment, and that was one of the things that motivated me to make this channel, was that fear, that realization that I couldn't possibly be the only person that's afraid to talk about my pain. And I know I'm not doing it for bad reasons or selfish reasons. And so again, I hope I can be an encouragement to people to find strength, so that they can voice their own pain and let it be heard, and so that we can be educated on their pain, and we can be compassionate and help them find a resolution to it, and help them, like I said, just be accepted, just be able to be who you are, and let your pain out, and let it be a part of who you are, and not be judged for it. But as always, good luck and good night.